All right, guys, it's time to throw a pass rush party. And not only did we throw the pass rush party earlier this week thanks to PFF, but we're going to do it again courtesy of PFR. You guys know, you've heard me say it by now if you've watched enough of my videos. PFF and PFR have very different ways in which they go about things, but after this game, not even PFR could deny us our due. Not even PFR could deny that that was a historic performance by our pass rush. And after a really slow start in that week one, we are back on track to meet and maybe even exceed my goals for the season. Now, the pathway by which we got there, according to PFR, is interesting. And I'm going to go ahead and leave all this stuff up as PFR put it, with one exception. So understand that just because I'm leaving it here doesn't mean I entirely agree with it, but it's interesting. And if you don't know what I mean by that, I'm going to go ahead and go through the data here. This is a very curious what PFR has come up with. Um, Game 4, let's start with the defensive line. This is number of QB pressures according to PFR. Draymond Jones had 1. I don't know if I totally agree with that, but okay, let's let that sit for now. He had 1 play where he tackled the quarterback after he gained like 3 inches. So it doesn't count as like a QB pressure or sack or anything because technically Daniel Jones got 3 inches, which is kind of crap, but whatever, it's technically true. Uh, so he gets 1, Jaron Reed gets 2, Mario Edwards gets 2, Cameron Young doesn't get anything. Miles Adams, they gave him 4. Now Miles Adams played good. I'm not disputing that. I like Miles Adams a lot. I'm impressed with him these last couple of games. I'm impressed with him in general. I like that guy. But 4? I don't know if I saw 4. I gotta be honest, I kind of feel like somebody at PFR may have made a mistake here, gave a couple of Draymonts to Miles. You guys gotta remember, even PFF didn't have Miles Adams with 4. They had him with 2. Do you know how hard it is to find an example of PFR being more generous with pressure data than PFF? It doesn't happen often. So, I don't know what's up there, but it's interesting. I'm going to have to go back through that game maybe and try to figure out what they saw from Adams. Because if PFR says you got a pressure, you probably got a pressure. You did. That's how this works. PFR is like the teacher that really, really rings you out to give you a good grade. PFF makes it easy. All right, so that's the defensive line. 9 pressures from those guys alone. Really, really good. Linebackers, we got some good stuff going on here. Bobby Wagner had 2 QB pressures with his 2 sacks, so he's on his way. Devin Bush, nothing. Now, Jordan Brooks, they gave him 1 pressure because he had 2 sacks in this game, but one of the sacks was a play where Daniel Jones is scrambling around and he runs out of bounds and Brooks kind of pushes him out of bounds. And they're not counting that as a pressure. I call horse hockey on that. If you get a sack, it's a QB pressure. I don't care how you try to galaxy brain your way out of it. A QB sack is a QB pressure no matter what. So I'm giving Jordan Brooks an extra QB pressure. This is an instance where I just have to step in and correct what PFR is doing. I think this is so obviously incorrect, like factually incorrect, that I'm stepping in here. I can't abide by this. So I'm giving Jordan Brooks 2, so he gets up to 4 on the season, which is well beyond what I thought he was going to get this year. You guys got to remember, I didn't think he was going to play that much this year, but even if I thought he was going to play, I definitely wouldn't have had him getting this much QB pressure in the first month. So awesome work, Jordan Brooks, and awesome work, the coaches, for figuring out how to utilize him in this capacity. So that's 4 from the inside linebackers. John Radigan didn't have anything, by the way, obviously. Edge rusher. We're still throwing the party here. Nwosu had 3 pressures, which makes sense. He had 2 sacks, and then he had the play where he hit Jones on the fumble that Mario Edwards forced. So that's at least 3 right there. Boye Mafe had 2. Makes sense. Darrell Taylor had 1, which I suspected was probably the case before PFF put out the data on him. And Derek Hall had 2, which I feel like he probably had more than 2 in that game. Maybe he had like 3, but I'm not really going to push it too much. I'm not really going to... I'm going to respect their difficult grading process here. I'm not going to do it with Brooks because that's just nonsense. If you get a sack, it should count as a QB pressure, period. But Derek Hall gets 2, which, hey, multiple QB pressures in a game. I'm never going to turn that down from a guy like a Derek Hall, who is a rookie, who is competing for snaps with some really good players. So that's 8 QB pressures just from the edge rushers. And as you can see, we are killing it already. That is, what, 21 QB pressures just from the front 7. 9 plus 8 plus 4 is 21. Just from the front 7. And if you watch that game, you know the story did not end with the front 7. Not even close. There was quite a bit of stuff going on behind the front 7 to really help supplement this pass rush into something else. Cornerbacks, it was just one guy, but it was... I haven't seen a quarterback generate quarterback pressure like that for the Seahawks in a game in quite some time. Like, there were some games back in 2017 or maybe it was 2018, where Justin Coleman would get active on the nickel blitz, and he would be really good. But I don't know if I've ever seen a Seahawks cornerback in recent memory get 2 sacks and 3 QB pressures in a game. So, 3 QB pressures for Witherspoon. He's already crushing my season expectations. Love it. Absolutely love it. That nickel cornerback blitz is something that seems like it works. Kobe Bryant was doing it a little bit before he got hurt. Go back to that well. So that's 3 from the cornerbacks. That gets us to 24. And if you watch the first drive in that game, you will remember Jamal Adams had the QB pressure before he went out. So that is 1 right there. Nothing from Diggs or Love or Reed. So that's just the 1. But you add it all up, that is 25. I believe PFF had us at either 35 or 36. So that's actually not that different. That's actually not radically off. Like, it's off. Don't get me wrong. They gave Draymond like 4 pressures. They didn't give Miles Adams this many, so it kind of offsets, but they gave Bobby more pressures. They gave Jordan more pressures. They gave Mafe more pressures. So there's still a discrepancy. But 25 from PFR is something worth throwing a pizza party about. And after 4 games, the Seahawks are at 49 QB pressures. So they are well on pace to meet my goal this year of 170. So things are going well right now, man. Things are going really well for this Seahawks pass rush. Obviously, it's a little imbalanced because the first game we did almost nothing. Then the next 2 games we did good, adequate. And then this game we just lit a fire. So it's a little imbalanced, but you're not going to get a consistent like 10 to 12 pressures every single game. Pass rush comes and goes. Some days it's going to be there, some days it won't be there. Sometimes game situation dictates it. You play a team that constantly runs the ball, you're not going to get QB pressures. You play a team that has to pass the ball a lot because they're behind, then you're going to get what you got on Monday night. So that is your pass rush Friday on a Saturday. Good stuff, man. If we can keep this up, this defense will be fine. It won't be great or elite or anything like that, but it'll be enough for us to win most games we play. So let me know what you think down below. I will see you guys later on. More videos coming later today. Obviously, we have a bye week this week, so there isn't nearly as much to go into as there is usually. Go Hawks. See you guys later, and enjoy this, because it's not going to be like this in every game. Like, that may have been a once-in-a-decade deluge of QB pressure.